and we can get started that way.
Okay, does it say that at the bottom of your screen to script?
It looks like I do have access. Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. I'm going to just put you on gallery. Where's your picture? Okay. Spotlight.
There you go.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, depending on where you're located. As Kia mentioned, my name is Najaah Daniels, and I proudly serve as Chief of Staff at Vote.org. I have a short but user-friendly presentation that I'm going to go over with all of you today to express how we can best get out the vote in our communities using the resources we have, not only at Vote.org, but collectively as a unit. So I'm really excited to be with you all today, and I will jump right in.
Thank you.
Great.
Oh, Pia, it looks like I do need to have access to share my screen.
Okay, I didn't know, so I will go ahead.
No worries. It's green on my end, so I thought I was good to go as well.
Okay, I'm gonna make you a co-host and then see if you could do it.
Perfect, yes.
It's nice to meet you in person, like versus email.
Getting it done by any means necessary.
Yes.
I'm so glad you didn't forget about us.
All right, so if you can see my screen and give me a thumbs up in the chat or give me some love. I see videos, great, wonderful.
Yes.
So today we're all here for the Get Up, Get Out Vote 2020 campaign with Black Cannabis Week. And as I mentioned, my name is Najaah Daniels and I serve as the Chief of Staff of Vote.org. A little bit of background of myself. I've been doing this work for over 15 years now. And when I started doing this work, I was doing out of necessity and a means to survive. I had no idea that I could one day become a political operative or a campaign manager and have the opportunity to work on local, state, and national elections across the country. So when I talk to people about what I do, first and foremost, I'm an organizer at heart, regardless of what my title is, and I'm in the business of relationships. So with that being said, I want to uplift and thanks Kia so much for allowing me to be here with all of you to share this information and to building community because it is truly important. Some discussion objectives that I would like to go over with everyone today is how to be a valiant voter against voter suppression. So one of my dear friends in the movement, Breon Wells, the head of the Daniel Initiative, always talks about being a vigilant voter. And what that means is pretty much being proactive instead of reactive. And many of us have been either voting for years on end or have been involved in the process in some way or how, because let's face it, as Black Americans, as Caribbean Americans, as BIPOC folks, everything is political when it comes to us. So we have no choice but to use our power. And I'm looking forward to speaking on how we can use that power or that right to vote to shift power. I'm also looking forward to speaking about ways we can get out the vote together and help others do the same. There's a lot of confusion with COVID-19, the coronavirus, a lot of misinformation that was happening before and now during. And I'm here to help support with resources that you can use to lessen those burdens. And last but not least, how can Vote.org be of use to you and your communities and your networks with our online tools that serve over 42 million folks across the country?
Wow.
So what is Vote.org, or who are we? So Vote.org, we're the largest 501c3 nonprofit, nonpartisan organization that focuses on getting out the vote and making sure that voters feel empowered to vote. And under our new leadership of our CEO, Andrea Haley, Vote.org is the only Black woman-led organization in this space, and we continue to be a trusted resource in this space. So I'm really, really honored to be here as a Black woman myself, as a Black Latina, representing the largest organization that focuses on making sure that Americans, regardless of their political preference, have the access to the ballot box. And last but not least, vote.org serves to ensure that the electorate reflects the overall population. So we want to make sure that our tools help people be politically engaged and empowered. We want to make sure that folks are actually turning out to vote and showing up. And last but not least, we have to strengthen democracy. And we know far too often this is on the backs of Black and Brown communities time after time again. And I'm here with vote.org to make sure that we're empowered in doing so.
Great.
So let's start with the basics. What is voter suppression? And it's always important to me when I'm having these webinar conversations or in-person trainings that there is interaction. So Joanne, thank you so much. And other folks, I want you to feel comfortable in joining in because we are all subject matter experts when it comes to this, because we all have experience when it comes to voting and the civic process in America. So I believe that iron sharpens iron. I believe that we all learn from each other. So it's extremely important that we use this space to collaborate and to bring up pain points that we may not speak on outside of a space like this. So I want to welcome everyone to bring their full selves, their full experience, and no question is too little or too big for us to talk through in partnership with each other. With that being said, what is voter suppression? So voter suppression is any act or behavior intended to deter an individual or group from voting. This is also known as voter caging in some cases. So I took a moment to jot down the 5 most common voter suppression tactics. Now, granted, these are not the only tactics that are used, but these are the 5 most common and ways that vote.org has been working in partnership in community with organizations and folks across the country to make sure that we're combating this. So first is voter ID laws. And in some states, if you do not have the proper identification, you cannot vote. And a lot of times students are affected by this, or other folks who don't have identification that is attached to a DMV. In that case, vote.org works in partnership with organizations like Spread the Vote to help communities empower themselves to be heard by gaining access to the correct IDs to make sure that they're registered to vote, and also the education that's needed in order to share this information amongst family, friends, and loved ones. The second one is voter registration challenges. So whether you like it or not, most of us are used to somebody coming up to us with a clipboard, asking us if we're registered to vote. And this year, because of the coronavirus, a lot of that field work, a lot of that one-on-one contact in person is not happening. So thankfully, vote.org has free online tools like our voter registration tool that has currently helped 2 million Americans year to date register to vote for this election. And I'm going to walk through some of our tools during some later slides, so I'm excited to get into that as well. The third voter suppression tactic that is common that we see often is voter roll purges. So what you may or may not be familiar with is all of us as voters are on some voter file in our states. So again, I'm based out of Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm on the Nevada voter file. And it's important that the election office cleans through the file for folks that may have moved and no longer live in that jurisdiction for voting, for folks who may have passed away, and other various reasons. However, we have seen in states like Georgia, where Black Americans in particular are purged off these rolls in alarming rates when we have continuously voted not only every 4 years, but every election, state and local. So vote.org is a member of the Demos Voter Purge Table, and it's a coalition of grassroots organizations, attorneys, and other civil rights leaders and workers to ensure that all states across the country are doing this in an integrable way, and we're not just purging folks off as a way of voter suppression. The fourth tactic is attacks on vote by mail and absentee voting. So I'm going to take a moment and say that vote by mail voting and absentee voting are the same thing. And we know in our community and a lot of other BIPOC communities communities the importance of language, the style of language, the slang of the language, the undertone of the language. When you say vote by mail and don't include that it's the same thing as absentee voting, we are suppressing folks and making them think that they're two different processes when there's actually one and it's the same thing. It also shows the gap in language and rhetoric when it comes to certain generations who are used to voting by absentee and that wording. And now the change in the process as people are trying to make this term more accessible by using vote by mail. However, that conversation, again, the fact that it's the same thing is not being had. So I don't want folks to be alarmed if you see something on vote.org or on your state's election site that says absentee voting but doesn't say vote by mail or vice versa. Please rest assured that you know exactly what you're looking at and what you're looking for, and those are the same things, just two different terminologies that are used. Also, to ensure that voters this cycle are able to vote by mail, vote.org has taken a holistic approach, and we've extended our vote by mail tool to include a print and mail feature, which helps voters who have a common barrier to access of a printer and or stamps. So what we're doing now is helping voters through the entire process and making sure that this is a holistic approach and we're not leaving anyone behind. Also keeping in mind that there will be members of our community who want to vote in person. So making sure that people are aware of early voting options, drop box options, and where their polling locations are, which are some of the tools that we provide at vote.org. And last but not least, and again, this is a short 5 bullet list. There are multiple voter suppression tactics that I'm sure we can speak about, but the disruption of polling sites. So again, with COVID-19 happening, there are so many changes happening state by state that are not the easiest to keep track of. So vote.org's COVID-19 one-stop shop resource hub provides all the information voters need in the palm of their hand, on their phone, or on their computer screen to make sure that you have everything that is up to date and reliable about the changes that are happening in your state when it comes to COVID-19. And then our polling location tracker is also a free tool that's available 24/7 on our website.
Wow. I have a question.
Yes.
One of the things, working as an agent in a medical dispensary, we come in contact with a whole range of folks, young, old, middle, a whole range of folks. And one of the things that I've noticed, some of the language young people are using, I don't want to vote, my vote doesn't count. And I really believe it's Russian bots, because some of the language is not even natural. They'll pick something that happened 20 years ago and they'll say, well, this person did that, this or that. But it's how can we give, or how can your organization provide examples of those bots and the kinds of emails? Like, for example, during the 2016 election, they made up people. This older woman who was giving them advice, she didn't even exist. But there's certain language glitches that happens when Russians are doing it. Now, they're actually hiring people, Americans. So one of the things that I've been warning young people about is to stop getting their information from Facebook. And this whole thing is voting doesn't matter. It's like 10 things that they say that they would never get from their grandparents or from any responsible. And Kia and I have been in situations where we're really like, are you kidding me? You're not going to vote. You're an intelligent person. You're not going to vote because it doesn't matter. You mean to tell me healthcare doesn't matter, climate change doesn't matter, and all these other things, voter suppression doesn't matter, because they're stuck on what they do is do emotional issues like with the protest, and they'll come out and say, none of these people are going to support you. And so how can we give examples to young people to beware of Facebook
Great.
and other, not just Facebook, it's everywhere, but their lies that they tell them.
Great question, and thank you for that. Vote.org does not focus on that area in particular. We are more of a call to action kind of organization. So yes, we do educate our base to make sure that voters are aware that voter suppression tactics happen.
Or slick.
But our main focus is to make sure that we provide resources so voters feel prepared, as well as empowered to help other folks register and actually vote. And then last but not least, have resources, which I'm about to go through, to actually debunk why voting is important and why it does matter, and why, you know, if it really didn't matter, why are folks so hard and putting so much funding to make sure that you don't vote. And another thing that I was just thinking about, and I have this conversation often, look at voting this way. If you're betting on something, if you bet or vote only every 4 years, and there's 4 chances for you to vote, whether it's a local or state election, and you're not voting, the odds are really kind of not in your favor. But if you continuously vote and show that local election matters, state election matters, national elections matter, and we're constantly being proactive instead of reactive, then we don't always have to be on the defense. So I'm really, really excited to have you all and again in community, and I want other folks, as you're nodding and stuff, to feel comfortable to chime in as well, because through our experiences, through what we do and do not know, is how we're going to be able to correct this, and it's going to take collective will to do so. And if we each tap into our networks, regardless of the size of it, someone else is going to feel empowered to do the same, and that's how we break this misinformation that is happening. And also, this is something that we do in our communities all the time: storytelling, gathering, organizing. It's in our blood, it's in our ancestral history. Again, this is not new to us, this is true to us. So if we just tap into the resources and the gifts we already have, combine it with some fancy words that we're still gonna have to break down to our communities so they can understand what we're saying, and then mobilize people to take ownership of their own individual right to vote and shift power, that's how we create change. And again, the voter suppression tactics aren't going to stop, but we're not going to stop either.
Right on.
I love it. Isn't she brilliant? I just love all of that, like synergy. If you've noticed today, I've had all of these highly intelligent, beautiful Black women. Nothing against the brothers. We, you know, they are definitely our kings, and we are glad with this glow. Is just, it's been a great day of all variations. It has all types of age levels and where people are from. It's just really cool. All around the United States, people, you know, it's cool.
I love it.
I thought that was fantastic, you saying about the local elections. My name is Rico. What's up, everybody?
Rico, I'll let Rico is definitely someone we're going to hear from next. He is the one who had the huge Black in Cannabis event that was on Ebony Magazine. So but Najaah,
much love. You trying to downplay yourself now, like, Kia. You're doing everything back on my side of the country. I'm over in LA now, but I'm from Virginia. I was born outside of DC, and I just love that the movement is moving east now, because it's been a huge part of my life, and it helped me break addiction. And the local, and I was a collegiate athlete, got hurt training for football, training for the NFL, and ended up on the streets. I had 2 degrees from Northwestern University. We were top 10 university at the time, and no longer. My wife doesn't let me let that down. We're not at top 10 no more. But I found myself on the street selling weed to support my opioid habit.
Well, that's a testimony that
totally.
Yeah, well, we'll save that testimony for when Tiffany comes on.
Come
on, Najaah.
We'll get on that.
Yeah,
the local, yeah.
Because I'll be in community
Yeah.
all night. We're having church up in here.
Yes, go ahead, finish. We're here.
I'm here for it. I'm here for all of that. I know, but the local elections is so important.
Yes.
Folks need to go down to the city hall. They need to see who's not only running, but see who their local politicians are. As a business owner myself for a few years now, I went down this past January before COVID hit, and I live in San Pedro, California, so the southwesternmost point of Los Angeles. And I saw some of these folks as the local politicians. Number one, there's a bunch of vacant seats that nobody even runs for.
Yes.
And then on top of that, some of the folks that are there, they're so out of touch, and nobody ever runs against them. How powerful would it be if your community was run by the people that look like you? And too often we just take that for granted. I didn't even think about it until this past year. And so I've been telling all my homeboys, I don't know how much you talked about like the cannabis situation and how dire it is.
I want to give, hold on one second, Rico. Hold on one second. Because Najaah was in the middle of her presentation and we just stopped and this jump subject. So as the conversation leader, I'm going to redirect it. And I know you know all this very well, Rico, because you do this times 10 too. So I'm going to redirect because and Najaah's coming from Nevada. She's the chief of staff with vote.org. And I feel like I'm famous to have her. So I'm going to get back and let her do, and then we'll come back around.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Queen.
I appreciate that. I promise we'll be able to join in community. I have a feeling this is not going to be the last conversation, but definitely feel you, Rico. New York, born and raised myself, based out of Los Angeles now. So back and forth with the East and West Coast. But back to voting and the coronavirus. So I'm going to bring us to our vote.org's COVID-19 resource hub. So very easy and accessible. Our COVID-19 resource hub, again, is for all 50 states and Washington, D.C. You can click this drop box here and have access to any state that you need to look up more information on. So since I'm based out of Nevada, I'm going to scroll down to Nevada and click there. And then they're going to pop up any COVID-19 related source or information that I need in regards to voting this election, as well as any links to government related sites to also confirm that our information is correct, as well as to show the user that we work in partnership to make sure that government is also giving voters the correct information. So let's talk some data points, because I love to talk about what's happening on a larger scale. Over 100 million or 100 million eligible voters did not vote or did not turn out in 2016.
That's right.
John, I was going to say, John, okay, go ahead, Najaah.
This is my thing.
Good. As we see in this chart of the folks that didn't vote and the folks that did vote, it's almost half. So I'm going to leave whatever word you would like to fill in about how that makes you feel. But I know for me personally, it targets both my heart and my mind, because I cannot understand how this right is being taken from so many people across the country that the masses are unaware of it. And also the fact that we have access to the internet and other resources, and people still don't feel invited or engaged enough to participate in this process, as if the process is not for everyone, as if the process is not a right. And that is rhetoric that we have to work against and we have to shift, because again, when we vote, it's how we shift power. And if you don't vote, you won't even see what your power can actually shift. So some quick data points: 1 in 10 eligible voters born after 1996, that's Gen Z, will be eligible to vote this election. Me, myself, I'm the eldest of 6 girls. All of my sisters were born after 1996. So when I think about who I'm organizing or who I'm bringing to the fold, I'm constantly thinking and working with my sisters to see ideas and what point of views they can bring to the table. Millennials and Gen Zs combined, myself being a millennial, we make up 37% of the electorate this cycle, which is huge. So when we're thinking about how we need to engage folks and have people involved, we really need to make sure these conversations are including our younger folks. And when we're saying younger, it's 18 to 40. So if you fit into that, you are a millennial / Gen Z person. We're also aware that although the coronavirus pandemic has created chaos across the country, these barriers to the ballot box are not new to our communities. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about the Black community. I'm talking about the Latinx community. I'm talking about the Indigenous community. I'm talking about the Asian American Pacific Islander community. I'm talking about young voters. I'm talking about incarcerated voters. Yes, folks who are incarcerated do have the right to vote, and I will go into that later on in certain states, as well as new voters who, no matter what the age, have no idea what is going on. So these barriers are now amplified across the country because of the coronavirus. However, they are not new to our communities. That's another piece of narrative that we have to push, because this is something that we've been combating about. It needs to be changed because it's not going to stop once the coronavirus ends. And that is a toxic narrative to continue to say when there are hundreds of thousands, there are millions of voters who are being suppressed in our communities every day. So what's the best way to support ourselves voting this cycle? First and foremost, remember the COVID-19 virus does not take away your fundamental right to vote. That is your right, and the only one who can take that away from you is yourself. Number two, to utilize reliable resources like vote.org to get everything you need to vote. Google is helpful. Other organizations have their own websites, but what I'm looking for is timely, clear, precise, scalable, reliable resources that I can get on my phone and on the computer when I'm out and about and I'm looking for information.
Great. Something you said that, I'm sorry.
So let's go to vote.org's website. So I'm going to ask some folks to participate and humor me. So if you're on a desktop or a laptop, continue to work from there and feel free to continue to watch from the screen. If you have a smartphone available to you, it doesn't necessarily have to be of any brand. You can type in vote.org in your browser for me. And then if you are an iPhone user like myself and have Siri, I want you to ask Siri, how do you register to vote? I'm going to give everyone 30 seconds to engage and humor me by pulling up vote.org in these 3 simple ways. And I'm also going to do the Siri part. Hey Siri, how do I register to vote?
You can head over to vote.org to register to vote.
Mine said the same thing.
Yes.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Yes.
Oh, go ahead, vote.org.
So with that being said, y'all, yeah, I know that's kind of cool. I take that out at parties sometimes. But in all honesty,
I got Vote America. My Siri said Vote America. I wonder why.
You asked Siri and it said Vote America?
Yeah.
What kind of Siri you got?
Yeah, I don't know if it's about where I live, man.
Interesting. So thank you for
very interesting.
That. I'm definitely going to say that there's various competimates in this field of ours who do the same work that we do. The organization you mentioned is one of those organizations, but I proudly serve under vote.org as chief of staff and invite you to visit our website. Hopefully Siri will come back to the light. With that being said, our front page provides everything you need very easily. So earlier in the presentation, I clicked on the COVID-19 link in the PDF that you'll have access to after. But why need to do that when you have the website and you can click it yourself? So again, to show you it's the same exact thing, the links work, and everything you need state by state is either a drop box away or a scroll away. Also, with our election timer that shows, our election day countdown shows we have 42 days, 8 hours, 56 minutes, and 0 seconds left until the election day. We want to make sure that voters are aware of how many days and we're helping them by countdown in that way. It's a cute, simple thing, but folks really appreciate it when they see it. So these various links here connect to our tools are here to help voters make sure that they are registered to vote or they apply for their vote by mail absentee ballot. We also have election reminders and our Pledge to Reg tool, which I will go over. It's the only tool of its kind in the space currently. Also our polling locator, polling place locator. We are in partnership to help folks become poll workers. As you may or may not know, you can become a poll worker as early as 16 years old. In many states, this is also a paid opportunity. So it's really great to get young folks more involved in the election by supporting some of our senior or more seasoned voters who are unable to be poll workers because of the coronavirus pandemic. And then last but not least, the census. We also have a census tool that allows you to go to the .gov site to fill out your questionnaire safely and make sure that we are all counted this year. So the first tool I want to walk through is our Check Your Registration tool, because I like to call this our catch-all tool. And what I mean by that is if you're registered to vote, you can use this tool. If you're not registered to vote or you think you might be, but you're not sure, you can use this tool. So you would fill out this information. It literally takes you 30 seconds or less if you have a phone that pre-populates your information. You will check your registration, and if they see that you're not registered at that location, it will then link you to our other tool that looks just like this, so you can register to vote. Or if you are registered to vote, it will congratulate you and let you know that you are all set and ready to go. As I mentioned, our registered tool looks the exact same way. This is for folks that know without a shadow of a doubt, I am not registered to vote, I am a first-time voter, and they can go straight here. But more times than not, we come across folks who may have not voted in the past year or two in election, but more times than not, they do vote every 4 years, and they just need to check that they have not been purged off of any list and to make sure that everything is up to date. And again, with DMVs being closed and a lot of confusion with the coronavirus, it's so helpful to have these accessible online and mobile tools so you can check for yourself to make sure that you are all up to date with everything that you need.
Yeah, personal accountability.
Yes, and voter vigilance for sure. So I'm going to go to our I mentioned our vote by mail tool that I'll show to you. Again, a lot of the tools look the same, but have different workflows in the back. So I promise you, when you fill this information out, you will get access to what you're looking for. And again, we do that purposely so it is simple to access, easy and accessible, and we're not confusing voters even more. So our Pledge to Reg tool, which is one of my favorite tools, is specifically made for users between the ages of 13 and 17. And what's so impactful is because we're building a pipeline of vigilant and prepared voters before they're actually able to vote. And that is fair, reasonable, and necessary, because who wants to be invited late to the party and then forced like a chore to actually participate in a process that you've never seen work for you, or you grew up on the www, platform, and all the information you're receiving is misinformation, it's confusing information. So this helps bring and invite folks ages 13 to 17 into the process sooner than later. And very simple, they provide their information and their phone number, and on their 18th birthday, we send them a text message, congratulations. This is how you register to vote in your state. Here is the link, and we walk them step by step in order to register to vote. So this is a very impactful and powerful tool that we use in order to holistically talk about voting. And again, friendly reminder, youth as young as 16 and 17. Although they cannot register or actually vote, they will be able to be poll workers. So if you have youth in your life that are 16 to 17 and can use a couple of extra dollars to do something good for their community, please go on our website to our poll worker tool to sign up and to learn more. It's really awesome. And that can be. All right, so since we walked through our website a little bit, I'm gonna go back to the presentation. Also wanna point out for folks that have websites and are watching this, we have free civic engagement tools. Again, the tools I just walked through, they look the exact same, 24/7 available to you. You can embed the link into your website, and then folks who go on your website will then be able to go by click of a button to vote.org to get what they need to vote. So this is available on our website. We are not asking for any payment of any kind. If you would like to make a donation, that's completely up to you, but we want you to use these tools. So please take advantage of it if you do have a website and you can afford to add embeddable tools to help people vote.
Wow.
That is absolutely.
That's great.
Let's talk numbers, because everything I said sounds all good, but I want to make sure I back it up and I really show y'all what vote.org is all about. So our year-to-date Get Out the Vote numbers, or GOTV, look like this. Our peer-to-peer texting program has reached 2.3 million folks year to date. So again, when I say year to date, I'm talking about January to September 2020. That is 9 months. Individuals reached through our Get Out the Vote text messaging, or SMS program, have been 6 million. And then folks who have been reached through our email list, specifically about Get Out the Vote, it has been almost 5 million folks. And why I uplift these numbers is because when you think of a typical campaign, quote unquote, folks usually start mobilizing to get out the vote around October or 4 days before the election. Not vote.org. We understood that not only are these barriers that we knew our communities were going to face on the front end, we had no idea that COVID-19 was going to happen. However, we knew that it was important to make sure that we constantly gave our supporters and our users the timely information that they need right on the spot. So it's really amazing that we've been able to contact millions of voters so far before the November election. Of course, helping people prepare for primaries and different changes that have been happening, but we see that our outreach makes a real impact when it comes to voters of color, particularly under the age of 35. They really, really, really appreciate the election reminders and the outreach and the information so they can share it with their contacts as well. Some of our national users and tool numbers include, we have 42 million users of all time that are using our constantly, which is huge. We have 9 million voters in our voter file for this year. Also a really big deal. These are new folks who are joining the vote.org family. We have 5 million on our verify tool, which is to verify and confirm that you're registered to vote. Back in 2018, that was a little under 800,000. So we went from not even a million to 5 million in 2 years. We are at 2 million when it comes to our voter registration tool. Again, this is for folks who need to register to vote, and 2018 we were at under 250,000. So again, really making huge impacts in the last 2 years. And then last but not least, when we're talking about vote by mail and absentee ballot voting, we have helped over 2.4 million folks start this process, where in 2018 it was under 200,000. And I'm going to take a moment to highlight that, because a lot of folks believe that vote by mail is something that is new. However, this is not a new process, and it's not a new process to vote.org. When we started in the early 2000s as long distance voter, our main objective was to make sure that American citizens abroad had access to the ballot box in the US. So we created a vote by mail tool to make sure that happened. Fast forward to 2020, again, not understanding or realizing what would happen with the coronavirus, we've been able to expand our tool to include the print and mail feature that I talked about, as well as a tracking system with a barcode so you can have step-by-step access to your voting process if you decide to vote by mail. So all of this is something that we've been working on for over a decade and making sure that this is accessible, and we fine tweak it and perfect it every time. So I'm really proud of my team, especially since we're a small but mighty team of 12 folks who live across the country and are really dedicated to making sure that 42 million Americans have access to this information. And I'm excited to invite you all into what I like to call our family, because it's important that you have access, knowledge, and empowerment as well, so you can bring this to your families too.
This is really, really.
This is wonderful.
It's the million. We're in the millionaires club right here. It's the number. Yes. Million. It's just.
Yeah.
And you know what? I have a question. Now I'm gonna wait to the end, but I'm gonna say the question so I don't forget it. The strategy that the organization uses to reach, to grow those numbers to millions. Well, we can talk about that when you get through the presentation.
Yes, for sure. Thank you for that. Our Vote Ready campaign is an initiative that we started this year to make sure that voters have everything they need to vote. I want to highlight some key dates. Tomorrow, Tuesday, September 22nd, is National Voter Registration Day. This is an annual day that happens every fourth Tuesday of September with the National Voter Registration Organization. Vote.org has partnered with them and a bunch of other coalitions across the country to push and make sure that folks are registered. Please, again, check vote.org to find out the deadline for your specific state. However, tomorrow is a huge national push for all voters across the country. We also have our Saturday day of action for early voting, October 24th, and the Tuesday, of course, D-Day, Tuesday election, November 3rd. As well. And there's more key activation days on our website, but I'm going to click here to show you the website. And it's pretty user-friendly, as all of our websites are, and we provide different toolkits and social assets, as well as voter information for folks to make sure they have everything they need to be vote ready. But this is not just for the everyday voter, this is for institutions, this is for businesses and corporations, this is for colleges and universities, high school students. We really, again, focus on making this holistic because this affects everyone. So as I go back to my presentation, you will see these screenshots here. These are screenshots of the tools, of the toolkits that are on the website that you can have access to. I took a screenshot of this checklist from our student athlete toolkit. And why I did that is because I felt like it was such a handy tool that could be used by anyone, student or not. And I feel like we're all students at one point or another. So in order to express what we need to our family and friends about voting, this toolkit on the website, as well as this checklist, is very clean-cut, helpful way when we're talking about the process and actually planning our vote this election cycle.
Wow.
Electionday.org is another initiative that we have. It's not new to us, but we've been implementing different ways of getting folks engaged. So if you did or did not know, 35% of non-voters state that they didn't vote in the past election because of a work or school conflict. So we've been working with colleges and universities, coaches, businesses, corporations across the country to make sure that that is not a thing when it comes to the 2020 election. So this website is user-friendly for our corporations and businesses that are looking to join. No business is too big or too small to join us. So for folks who are joining us or listening in tonight or anytime, feel free to join us before the election. Some of the participating companies that you'll see here, and there's over 700 of them, Twitter, Lyft, Airbnb. We've been working really closely with some of the biggest brand names to make sure that their employees also have access to their right to vote.
Wow.
But what I love the most about this, and influential businesses are great, but what really hits home for me are the vote-friendly organizations that have 1 to 10 employees, 50 to 500, and the different industries that are represented in this chart right here. That's always available to you. So it's really great, and also a great way to hold folks accountable. One of your favorite businesses, you don't see them on here, at them, shout them out. Hey, I think you could benefit from looking at electionday.org, a vote.org initiative, to make sure that your employees have access to the ballot box this year. Or again, if you yourself know someone, you own a business, please join us. We would love to have you in solidarity to make sure that voters are able to vote this year. So electionday.org is really great for that. So Vote by Mail in Jail initiative is very near and dear to my heart. As the child of 2 formerly incarcerated folks, I'm really honored to have the opportunity to not only help build and create, but spearhead this project through vote.org. Before I joined the team, as I mentioned, I've been doing this work for over 15 years, and I always go in the dark places, in the hard places, in the places where nobody wants to go, because those are the places that I came out of. Growing up in foster care, having a mother who was deported when I was of younger age, and seeing how people who are either of mixed family statuses or didn't have access to education or language barriers, or our Caribbean heritage of immigration that is constantly forgotten and not talked about. It was important for me to do something that brings back to my community. So the Vote by Mail in Jail initiative, we are partnering with Spread the Vote, who I mentioned earlier, in making sure that over 152 jails across the country have the reliable resources and training that they need to make sure that our incarcerated loved ones have access to the ballot box this year. And I felt like it was so important to bring up in this conversation, as we're constantly seeing that our loved ones are being locked up on petty things like marijuana usage, where other folks who don't look like us, who don't come from us as a mean of survival, are getting paid buku bucks for this. So talking about access, rights, and resources, we have to think of everyone and not just the ones that look good on paper. So with that being said, there's multiple ways that you can join Vote by Mail in Jail initiative. You can go to our website, which I will show in a second. And you can sign up to be a part of our state advocacy team, which helps across the country build coalition to make sure that states have these resources and we're building relationships, or our inmate outreach team, which works with the jails directly, in our staff that are in-house directly. And there's also multiple ways that our incarcerated loved ones can join the program themselves. So at jails that we are participating with, we have staff that are actually helping recruit and give folks access to this program to let them know we're here. This is not new to jails. However, it has been harder because of coronavirus. A lot of third-party organizations don't have the same access and visitation. So we have to really, really rely on folks who are in the jails, the staff, a lot of chaplains, a lot of in-house contacts to do right. And part of that doing right also requires giving training. So we've been training folks on various steps on how to register to vote, how to get your absentee vote by mail ballot, and etc. Also family and friends. So folks who are watching today, when you go to Vote by Mail in Jail, you can sign up a loved one yourself, and they'll gain access to the program that way. And last but not least, incarcerated voters who opt in through our newsletter or through a postcard they receive also gain access to this program. So this is our first year doing this. It's been a couple of months, but it's been extremely impactful, and it would be great to have more folks involved and to bring more light to this amazing initiative that we have.
Wow.
So who remembers how-to guides? Back in grade school, we would have to do
Yes.
how to write a book report and how to bake a pizza. I remember in 7th grade, I don't know why, but I did how to make Kool-Aid. And I had like the best presentation and everyone loved it. It was really awesome. And it's so great that we continue to use different things that we've used in our past. So in partnership with WikiHow, we have how-to guides for folks to use in order to learn more about how to register or how to vote in COVID-19 conditions. We also have a few videos. So keeping in mind folks' different learning styles, and learning styles don't stop once you become an adult. If anything, it's even more important to learn your learning style as an adult. So I invite you to go to wikihow.com/vote 2020 to learn more and to have more resources that are easy and digestible for you and your loved ones. I forgot to go back and show the Vote by Mail in Jail website, but I'll do that in a second. So this is a call to action meeting, and there's various ways that you all online can get involved today. So I'm going to challenge folks to do a couple of things that you're comfortable with between now and the election. Keeping in mind we have 32 days. So with that being said, relational organizing. We talked about peer-to-peer texting and how vote.org has reached million people that way. We're asking you to join our team and help us by contacting your loved ones and your network.
Yes.
So our relational organizing program is it's an easy volunteer opportunity to opt into if you're interested. Again, you will get all this information and the presentation at the end, so I don't want anyone to worry about link access. I will make sure you have that. But you can read more about the relational organizing program here and our weekly call to actions. And if you have 1 hour a week to donate, we're 6 weeks away. If you have 4 hours a week, I mean, we'll work with whatever capacity you have, but we're asking for at least 1 hour a week commitment when you're working with our peer-to-peer program. Another opportunity is to share our links, as we talked about. On our website, we have free links that you can share with folks to register to vote, to check their status, to request the ballot, to pledge to register for young voters. Again, this is all 100% free, 100% accessible to you at any time. Just go to vote.org. We also have social assets. That's on our Vote Ready website that I showed earlier. And these assets are accessible and easy to use with messaging as well. That's also found in our toolkits that you can share online in order to continue to mobilize. And then some additional resources. You can text VOTE, V-O-T-E, to 22821 to sign up for our election reminders. Also, if you use a vote.org tool, you'll have an option to opt into our election reminders that way, so you don't have to do double the work. As I mentioned, our I Am Vote Ready campaign has everything you need in regards to social access and sharing this information online. And then we have a Plant Your Vote campaign, which speaks about actually making a plan to go vote this year, because there's so many options accessible. It's about what's most accessible for you and yours. So it's a virtual visual arts campaign, and the art is actually gorgeous. Many local artists from across the country, museums, and other folks have participated by providing some art and messaging to help folks get prepared this cycle. So again, meeting people where they are, mixing culture and arts and other things that we enjoy to get out of the idea that elections and voting has to be a drag, because that it does not have to be that way. So one last thing I'll leave you all with, if you're familiar with the 20-year-old rapper Yellow Pain, who came out a couple of
Yay!
years ago.
That's my guy.
with his first voting song. He is a huge, huge partner and fan of Vote.org.
Oh, wonderful.
Last week, his newest song, My Vote Will Count, featuring Seven Streeter, came out. And there are call to action as well as graphics from Vote.org. So I invite you to go click on that when you have an opportunity to learn more about our partnership and how you can be involved that way. I did not want to click that. Okay, last but not least, here's my point of contact. I'm quite accessible. I would like to think there's not many Najaahs out there, but I am Najaah Daniels, Chief of Staff at Vote.org. My email is my first name, Najaah, Najaah, @vote.org. I can also be found on social media platforms like Twitter, Najaah D, the letter D, and my Facebook is Najaah Daniels. So feel free to find me, LinkedIn, etc. Vote.org is also easy to find. That would be vote, and then dot is spelled out, DOT, and then org, ORG, on social media platforms as well. So thank you, everyone. Really grateful to join
Fabulous.
you. To open up to questions and conversation as Kia finds fit. So thank you all. Feel very blessed to be here.
Wow.
I have to clap because I'm
Yes.
gonna put it on gallery view so everybody can see everybody if they want to. Thank you. Thank you
It was
very
wonderful.
much. Thank you.
Wonderful.
This is what you call when you say come through.
Oh my goodness.
She came through, and I mean, just eloquent, brilliant, and I see why you're the chief of staff.
Absolutely. And you're from New York.
So one of the things that when I reached out, and even before I reached out, and Rafi can attest to this, the planning, I was so, and Joan, you know, I was like, I do not want to do another situation. Kevin, you know this. Timby, you know this, where it's just people just talking. And
yes.
I know that I'm in the business of cannabis, but I also know that we can't talk about cannabis unless we're entrenched in politics.
Absolutely.
And I really, you know, wanted, you know, to say, when I do this event, I do it during Congressional Black Caucus annually. And I said, I raise money and I get the, I have a venue. Thank you, Kevin, from last year. And, you know, it's a whole woo to do. But this year, I didn't even want to ask people for money and things of that sort because everybody should be focused on election.
Absolutely.
You know, all the attention. I mean, we don't even need to go up on the hill right now for any events. It's like everything is already in motion. And so one of the things I said, I want to have a session that is resourceful. I want it to be something that people can walk away with and actually apply. So this presentation is just like, it's all inclusive. And it has, I mean, whoever you are, I'm sure if you can tell a little bit about the company, but you guys sat down and thought of every problem or every way someone could say, well, I didn't know. No, we covered everything, every base from a student to an employer, from brands to multiple websites that still get you to the same place to do the same thing. It's amazing. It's amazing. And I hope that everybody that's on Facebook watching, and that people who are on this call, take these pieces away and actually go back and put it on their social media and share, that relationship engagement that you spoke of. So I do want you to just give a little bit of background about the organization and the women and how the change came over that you and I talked about. And I encourage the other people who are on this recording right now, definitely ask some questions or, communicate in the chat, because when I do upload this onto the YouTube channel, maybe something that you're thinking about, somebody else that's watching is going to want to know. So there's an open communication here. So go ahead, Najaah.
Thank you. Yes. So as I mentioned, I can't believe I'm still doing this work after so long, and I for me, so much is just like the title or the impact of it all, to be able to work for the largest nonpartisan nonprofit in the country that's serving 42 Americans to make sure that they vote. I'm just, a Black Latina from the Bronx that saw my family was being done dirty, and I didn't want that to happen to other families. So it was literally out of a means of survival. It was a means out of just my love for community and humanity, and seeing that at the end of the day, if you are human, you deserve to be treated with respect. And that's how I was raised. Again, multi-ethnic, multi-racial, multi-faith. We're human at the end of the day. And also my love and compassion of, to be honest, being a Black woman. And I'm going to bring that back to our CEO, Andrea Haley, who is also a Black woman who actually grew up as a biracial Black woman like myself, but growing up in the Midwest, having a white mother and a Black father, and seeing how they had to maneuver systems together, not only for the safety and well-being for their family, but also as two civil rights attorneys. So she's been born into this, worked into this for over 20 years, and has also seen the financial side of this. So Andrea brings her expertise in how, when we're talking about resources and we're talking about giving people access, we need to put our money where our mouth is. And she's been champion of that across the political sector. And it's been an honor to work under her. She's been in this position for, I believe November will make a year since she's been CEO. And just to see the level of engagement that's different at vote.org. Even our board is an all-woman board of multi-race women with different levels of experience from across the country. I mean, to see women and BIPOC women in particular taking lead on this is just really beautiful, and not really seen in Silicon Valley at all. So when I talk about our competimates, and I made, a little joke earlier, we genuinely work with everyone in the space. However, we're very aware that not everyone works with us or wants to work with us because of who is leading us, and because of some folks being uncomfortable with what new leadership looks like. I'm here to say, without a shadow of a doubt, myself nor Andrea Haley will be backing down, and we look forward to continuing to support 42 million plus Americans who are looking to vote in any capacity. So it's just really beautiful to see how you can be an everyday person who's going through struggle, literally just talking to your community, talking to your folks, and you can make large impact across the country if that's something you're looking to do. And I'm here to also be a support, whether I have my vote.org hat on or not. I love to invest in and work with other people who just have something to say and a fire in their belly for passion, and make sure that all folks have access, not only to voting, but to a life that is liberated. And that's why I'm here to serve.
Right on. One of the things that really excites me is the fact that you contact the kids when they're young. As a former dean and professor, and Key is an educator, we don't teach civics anymore. So when they come to public administration first course, they don't know the three branches of government, the fourth estate, and they don't know any of this. And so to basically give them this card of acceptance early in the game for something to look forward to is something that schools can adopt. DC can adopt that tomorrow.
I'm signed up already.
I'm like that. I think that, because I saw a button and it said, parents who vote have children who vote. And that's so true. And the things you talked about your sisters, and I've been encouraging people, like, in the family, you make sure you get a bus, and Aunt Millie, Aunt Mammy, everybody is going to vote. Because I have this project, Senior High. My big disappointment was I'm 70 years old, and I could not believe that I haven't spoken to people, I'm going to start talking to them again, who didn't vote in the last election, like it wasn't anything. And so it's not just young people. It is since Obama, it's like, I ain't voting no more, because he, it's like.
That was the data. I'm not just jumping in. And when she started the presentation and she talked about the 2016.
I've been saying it.
She started off with that. And facts are facts.
Like,
yes.
period. You can't dispute facts. So when we talk about 100 million people who have not, we know some of those folks.
Yes.
We, look, not to point any fingers at anyone, but we too may have been one of those folks at a point in time or another before we were awakened to the fact that, again, this is our right. This is not our chore. This is our right. And then again, when I say it like that, and I think about I said our ancestors, but I'm talking about our grandparents, our aunties, our uncles, maybe our parents themselves, who were literally fighting for this right.
Yes, yes.
And then for us to take ourselves out the game because we're not satisfied with the results, we're not of weak heart. Not my community, not the folks that I work with. So it's just so important that we continue to uplift people and also not shame them, but show them that there's another way to do this. And it does work. So we always talk about the negative stuff, but we never talk about the elections where people actually win, or the dark horse candidate who no one knew, or people, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez in New York, folks who build community and are grassroots organizers and everyday people, bartenders. I mean, Rico was talking about this earlier, running for elections on this local and state level. We can do this. And a little tidbit that is funny and also sad, there are incarcerated folks who cannot vote, yet they can run for office. There are folks who have marks on their
yes.
and that they could run for office. Run tell that. How's that for a loophole for you? So there are ways that we can mobilize and organize our community. I shared that I come from a mixed status family. If you are ineligible to vote because you are not an American citizen, no one took your voice away from you. You are still able to exercise and speak that someone else's vote is also a vote for you, is also a vote for our community. So we need to stop having these silo conversations and start having more community-based conversations like this. And I haven't had a chance to talk to Kia about this, but I'm hoping for next year with the off-year elections, quote unquote, we can start some kind of spark the vote campaign and really get Black cannabis users and business folks involved in making sure that we're talking about this for the midterm elections in 2022 as well.
Yes.
There's so much power in our community. We just need to band together. And also, we like to have a framework. So I'm honored to join all of you, to bring my expertise, both lived experience and professional, and mix it with your lived experience and professional expertise, so we can really make sure our communities are not only served by folks who look like us, but folks that actually have the experiences we have. And in this room right now, that's the Black cannabis experience. So I'm so blessed to be here.
Yes.
Oh, well, can we clap for her again? Like I went to church. I'm so inspired and motivated. Rico, I know you just over there with a whole lot. Unmute yourself. Because this brother, he's a TED talker, okay? He has it all together. I mean, I know you have.
Nobody's got it all together, but I'm trying to bring everybody together, because it's much better when we do it together. And we're doing a lot of good things right now. I'm working with a lot of very powerful people, and I think that's the positive that's come out of this pandemic.
Yes.
Me personally, like two businesses personally decimated by the pandemic. I have this thing right here. I have a crazy story. So I was in finance for like 10 years. I hated every second of it. But this is like one of my favorite things. It was like High Times 100 most influential people. Like my private parties and events that I did in the cannabis industry over the last 4 years, because cannabis did save my life 3 times. That's my TED Talk. You can look it up. And addiction, and then it broke down a lot of social barriers in college, because being from the South, I just didn't have any white friends. I didn't have any brown friends. I didn't have any Asian friends, no gay friends. I didn't have none of that until I went to school. And, you know, you hop in a cipher and you realize there's stuff you can connect with other people from different races, different sexual orientations, different, they're from different regions, different countries. And there's no reason to just live in your silo. I unfortunately, you know, I fell into drugs after it was actually my senior year of college. Went to this team doctor, and at the sore throat, she gave me unlimited refills of Vicodin. And I wasn't poor, like from Virginia, but I wasn't rich either. And so I started selling it, you know, and being a scholarship athlete, you're given $990 a month, living in Chicago, like you can't live off of that. And you start selling it, start partying with it. Before I knew it, you know, I was popping pills all the time and ruptured my Achilles tendon, training for the NFL. Vicodin didn't work, they gave me Norco. I was depressed. All my homeboys were still playing, and I wasn't. They gave me Zoloft. Couldn't sleep with all these drugs in my body, Ambien. We didn't have Obamacare at the time. And yeah, I'm 37. And I hit the block. Period. We fell off the school insurance, and that's the only way that I knew that I could get by. So luckily, you know, I ended up getting a good job, but I was a secret addict, and cannabis saved me. When I got out to California, I got really, really good at corporate finance, and I got called out for being an addict. I had a real bad twitch, and a dispensary owner switched out some of those pills for some cannabis. He had some tincture. I didn't even know what a tincture was. I was selling weed in Chicago. It was fire. I was just selling gas. But I didn't know what a strain was. I didn't know any of that stuff. But it took it away. And I've been an advocate ever since. And then I had a tumor in my throat. My father died of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And I just thought I was the next one. Cancer's on both sides of my family, but I was the first one to have a benign tumor. And after 10 years in corporate finance, I was branch manager at one of the biggest firms in the world. My particular branch, we had 46 billion under management, and I quit. And I decided to get in the cannabis industry and just work my way up. I helped 2 companies go public. Started 2 foundations, and I just really haven't looked back since. And I know my case is really, really extreme, but I'm making the best of it right now, and I'm making sure that everybody knows the benefits of this plant. And then fast forward to today. So I've been in for 4 years in cannabis now, and pandemic happened. Everything was gone. My wife, I have a 5-month-old daughter now. I gotta show it to you,
nice.
Kia. Yeah, she's much bigger now.
Yeah.
I don't know if my wife came by with her a second ago. Yeah, she's 5 months now. My little pandemic princess. Her name is Zora. Zora Neale Hurston. And I was scared to death. You know, she was born April 8th, and they thought that we were gonna get as bad as New York did. And we had a 40% chance we have a hospital bed. First kid, can have our parents out. I got 5 sisters. Can I have none of my sisters out to help us out? It was a terrible situation. Yeah, but my homeboys, like, luckily, you know, I don't know how PC we are in this conversation.
We're cool. Not at all.
Yeah. So my OGs reached out, and they were the ones who helped me out. And they're like, you know, you got a diaper rash, you gotta get that, you know, the butt paste. And they're just like, they're helping me out with like little stuff like that. And I just realized like how awesome this community is. And cannabis is such a communal plant on every level. And it's been used against us as a weapon. It still is. And it's what I was saying about the local elections. A lot of people think that Los Angeles is the 2nd largest city in the U.S. It's not. It's 88 cities smashed together. I didn't really know much about like anything before I moved out here. except for like Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, the Dog Pound when I was young, because you know the Snoop came, smashed down the buildings, and we wanted to fight him. New York, New York, and so that's all. That's all I really know. You know, yeah. So Dr. Dre, Compton was one of the 88 cities that did not pass cannabis legislation when Measure M passed in 2017.
Wow.
So 98,
because they didn't vote?
98,000 eligible voters in Compton, 2,700 people voted.
Wow.
Timby from California. Yeah. Timby, are you there? Where are you? Because I know you know about this.
Right. And that just like blew my mind, because when I left corporate finance to come into the cannabis universe, I became an activist, and I was on the streets. I was at every city hall meeting, and my business partner, y'all around all week. I have a special video that I'm sending in. It's compressing right now, Kia.
Okay.
I hit up Sharon. I hit her up on Friday, but my new company just soft launched on Friday. So I just been kind of MIA, just getting everything ready for the launch and raising money. And man, so we have to participate. We have to get involved in this. And when
those numbers again, I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt, but it's
Compton,
numbers.
It passed recently, but this is 3 years ago. Wow. when cannabis legislation passed in all of California, then it goes city by city. But we do it here in California as municipality up. And with Los Angeles being 88 cities, the laws are different every single city. So it's impossible to scale a business. So if you want to get in the cannabis industry, and we're seeing that right now, I caught a lot of heat for saying this. Is Miss Kindness still on here? You still on here? Okay. Miss Kindness, she's the homie over there.
Clicked off. No.
Yeah, so she knows. I caught a lot of heat for this because I was at every city hall meeting, and there was about 3 of us of color there, and one of them is my business partner now, Miko Hester Perez, and I'll put a lot of our information out, and you'll see more about us in the Forbes article that we had a few weeks ago. Is all about data and consumer data, where there's no consumer data on Black consumers in the cannabis industry. We're all lumped in one urban category, and we're marketed to like we're all Snoop Dogg, like we're all Wiz Khalifa. And it's total bullshit. So we've been doing this huge data project, and this is all from the pandemic, right?
Yes.
I was out ripping and running. I was out doing all these big events, big parties, trying to expand. And I really didn't know how I was going to be a good father. And God put me in my place. And George Floyd was killed. And I was so angry. I was so emotional. And I've been good at this for like a long time, like just meditating and everything. But I hadn't. Since the pandemic dropped, I've been so stressed out from being a new father, being alone, just me and my wife, and just trying to figure things out. And I just had a breakdown. And 3 of my closest friends reached out and really got me to calm down, got me to start meditating again. And I just looked around, and I saw the big picture. And it's really how I view everything in life. I control the controllable within my nucleus, my close friends, family, and I'm aware of the big picture and how powerless we are in the grand scheme of things. And there is no trickle down economics, but there is trickle up, right? Those
agree.
Folks, they need our support. You know, that grassroots campaign will tear you up. Yeah. And Killer Mike, like some people like him, people don't like him, and you know he's a great rapper, he makes great music, but then you see him like posing with these Republicans.
I know, unbelievable.
Hey, I don't judge. I talk shit, I don't judge. And so he had his speech, right? When they had the CNN building, they were burning it down, that in Atlanta, and his speech, and it just like really got to me. He's like, go back to your home, organize. And that's what I did. Me and the Knox doctors up in Oregon, and Dashita in here, Dashita Dawson, and a few other folks from all over the country, we had been like, oh, we got to do something together. And it was never going to happen if it wasn't for this pandemic.
Those are our sisters in cannabis.
Yeah, we're forming we have formed, we are established now, the Chem Coalition, Cannabis Health Equity Movement. And there's like, it's a bunch of stuff. I'm only allowed to talk about like 2 things of it right now. There's 4 pillars. We have 2 coming out. So we've created a Black marketplace, online, cryptocurrency based, to keep those dollars through loyalty, keep those dollars circulating within our community. It is all inclusive. So white vendors are encouraged to join too. However, there is going to be an ongoing report card with everybody in there. What are you doing to support Black communities? What are you doing to support Black initiatives that are actually helping Black communities too? So you can come in here, but if you're trying to exploit us for dollars like you've been doing for hundreds of years, you will be put on blast immediately. So that's one rung, and the other one I'm allowed to talk about is the HBCU initiative. So we're partnering with a number of, we just had I think we had our 3rd sign up with us, and 2 things there. So educational track and a vocational track. So in the South, the beautiful thing about the South, right? I hated going back to the South ever since I left college, left for college, because of the bigotry, because of like the bad memories down there, because of the humidity too. And, but the one good thing is Black and white folks down there, they're on the same level of ignorance when it comes to the cannabis industry. So we're kind of on the same level. We don't have 26 years of whitewashing that we have here on the West Coast. We don't have Pacific Northwest too. So what we're doing is we're working with HBCUs, and it was just going to be a cannabis club, but 2 of them have already asked us to help them build just curriculum, so we can start teaching about cannabis and take back the hemp industry, because that was, everybody knows about cotton, everybody doesn't know about hemp, and that was our crop. White folks did not know how to handle that crop. So in the West Coast and in the Pacific Northwest, there's actually a lot of Black cultivators out here, but nobody owns land because it's so expensive. In the South, we have a ton of Black landowners. So what we're doing is we're pairing up Black cultivators with Black landowners in the South, so we can either we can teach them how to cultivate on their own land, or we can get them paid for that. We've created a Black a land bank too, teamed up with the Black Farmers Association in VA as well.
Yes.
And I'm so happy I'm allowed to talk about this now too, because this is like all within the last 2 weeks.
The Black farmers.
Yes, exactly. So that's Kim, right? And so and Kia knows, and that's how we actually met too. She came and helped me out with the Ebony Juneteenth Summit. So this is after George Floyd happened. I was in my feelings over here, and I'm like, do something about it. And I just did not realize I was hung up on my new baby. I was hung up just being in quarantine. And I couldn't bring the coronavirus back in the house with me. Any other time, I'd be out there right on the front lines. So
it's all good.
Ebony Magazine hit me up, and they didn't really respect like the 420 holiday. And it really pissed me off, because what most people don't know is December 5th, the United Nations, the World Health Organization, are voting to decriminalize cannabis globally.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who gives a shit how racist this country is, if social equity doesn't work. We have a global hemp trade going on. That's part of CHEM too. We're working with like 4 African nations also, and they want us to include our cannabis curriculum out there as well. Like everything's going on right now. These are shiny objects. everything that Trump is saying, everything that
absolutely
all these MAGA, you see my head, like, make Africa great again. That's,
love it.
That's the kind of stuff that we're on. I mean, they can do what they want, they can say what they want. I'm not even on that. I'm trying to empower people, and it's really all about economics. We keep these dollars circulating in our communities. We uplift ourselves, and we teach each other how to rise up out of this, and that is exactly what we're on. Juneteenth came on. We have 53 speakers from 6 countries.
Yeah.
And 14 hours. Yeah, 14 hours of programming, and we just had family conversations that we needed to have as a Black community. And I was bringing, it was awesome. You know, Ebony, and they went bankrupt again, so I can say whatever. They're not the best run company right now. The people that took over, they just wanted to put some Black faces in front of it, and they weren't good at management. So they weren't the best to work with, but the fact that me, a cannabis entrepreneur, was able to work with the Time magazine of the Black community, it brought in a bunch of non-cannabis individuals in there, investors, and we were able to have real conversations. We talked about everything we need to get out of the way in order to rise economically. We talked about the gay community within the black community, those issues. We talked about economics. We talked about the difference between an activist and an advocate. We talked about yes. It got real. It got real. We had conservatives in there. We had liberals in there. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
Saw how diverse we are. And Miko Hester Perez, she's my partner, close family friend. And the way that we first met is like we were one of 3 in the courthouse, and I was like, hey, I just wanted to meet Black people. When I got in here, and I was like super militant when I left corporate finance. I only wanted to work with Black and brown folks. And I saw her, and she just kept on scooting out the courtroom every time we would have a hearing. And I finally got her one time. I was like, I just want to give you my card. It's good to see another Black person in here. We're in the streets, but nobody's in here trying to push the needle, move the needle on the laws. And the reason why she couldn't is because she's actually the most sought after cannabis autism oncology expert in the world.
Wow.
And she cannot be in fraternizing with a lot of the lifestyle folks.
Right.
At the time, and her son, Joey, he was given 6 months to live. And she threw a Hail Mary and got him some pot brownies. This is 12 years ago. We hear about, oh, canna mom this, canna mom that, these white women. No, she did this 12 years ago. If y'all remember, like, on Maury Povich and like Ricky Lake, they had those, can you believe that this woman's giving her children marijuana? That was her. And they tore her down publicly. She lost custody twice.
Wow.
He lived 10 years after that.
Saved his
passed.
life.
Yes. He passed away. He had Duchenne muscular dystrophy and acute autism. He was nonverbal, was not eating, and cannabis saved his life too.
Yeah.
And she got to enjoy him 10 more years.
Wow.
And after he passed, it was like a year and a half went by, and people don't realize, like, all these old folks using cannabis, that's her. All these children using cannabis and living lives and being able to be normal again, that's her. That's what she does.
Mm-hmm.
And she couldn't talk about any of this because she was afraid of losing her position. And a year and a half passed, and I was in a position because I was running this program called Canna Gather out here.
Yeah, we know Canna Gather.
Yeah, I'm off that. We off that. I got Canna Vision now, and I created my own decentralized network, and I'll talk about that in a second. No, but she was silent, and I finally got her to come out on my program and finally tell her story. And it's just a shame because she's a Black woman. She's Afro-Latina, and she was helping all these white people. She's helping all the all these families, and she couldn't even talk about it because she was afraid of losing her child a third time.
Mm-hmm.
And we really, really, really need to come out of the cannabis closet. And that's why we did, after the Ebony event, Kia, and I know we haven't talked much, we talked like twice since then. And we just been organizing. That's all we've been doing, and we've been building. And me and Miko had a conversation right after that. And she said, the best thing that I got out of this was to see how diverse we were. And so we did a survey. And we're doing like data collecting within the Black community. And we're going to release all of this data for free to Black cannabis operators. We're going to sell it to the white folks, but we're going to give it for free to the Black cannabis operators, so we know how to serve our people better. And the first round that we did, we just got funding from Duke University for the second one. And we got some surprises, and through Kia, and we rushed this. We just did an interview with like Vice News last week because of a lot of bullshit that's going on in the social equity movement right now, and nobody's talking about that. You guys are gonna get that information first. We're sharing it with y'all first this week, so I'm getting that over to you, Kia. So let me know when it's gonna air so I can tell my people. But we're releasing that information in our results that we found. And it's very, very, very surprising. And I can tell one of them, and Miko won't get too pissed. I'll say this one. I only know of all the people that we got the surveys back from, I only had 2 people that I went to college with. And Miko only had 1 person, I believe, that she went to school with. We all went to college. But 76% of this of the people who responded, it was sexual behaviors of Black cannabis consumers. That was the name of the survey. And 76% of the respondents were college educated. We only have 4.7% ownership in the cannabis industry that look like us.
That much? Wait, that much?
4.7%. 4.7%.
Do you understand this, Joan? You know this.
Listen, this is what I'm so sorry. I can't wait to talk to you because I shared earlier, and I'm much older. So my thing is senior high. The way you do, we have people that are so on drugs, and that was my story. I was at the top. I was on so many drugs, and cannabis saved my life, and now I'm an agent for one of the dispensaries. So one of the things that Kia and I are launching, and I definitely want to talk to you, is senior high. And the other thing I shared with the audience is that 20 years ago, I worked for Ron Brown, and he was the first, Ron Brown.
Yeah. And Reggie Grant.
Yes. And he appointed me to be the first woman to be head of the Minority Business Development Agency, but he did something else. This was in 1995. He gave me, I was 30 something years old. He gave me trade mission authority, first Black woman. And I took trade missions with small size businesses that had something to sell. We went to South Africa, we went to Jamaica, we did deals all over. So this idea that we can't do deals is crazy. This man he unleashed us across the world. And so now I am a senior citizen, and what I want to bring, I see people that come and they are on so many drugs, they can't walk. I mean, they're only 60 years old, 50 something years old on everything you named. They'll come in with the bag. So we got to talk.
Yes.
I'm excited.
We need more. We need more of our elders. We need more of our elders. My grandfather hated that I left corporate finance. He was. I never wanted to be in finance. That's what their thing is. Right. So he was feeding me these like Kiplinger magazines since I was in like high school. I was like, I'm going to NFL. I'm never going to be in finance. I just fell into it because it was sales, and he loved that. And he didn't talk to me for 2 years after I left finance. But as soon as my company went public, he called me up.
He can say, yeah.
Yeah. He's like, oh, so I've been using this roll-on.
And that's what happened.
He wanted some advice.
It's
and we need to break that down.
It's the fastest growing, one of the fastest growing demographics. We're living longer, and we shouldn't be crippled. People can't walk. They're on so many drugs. So I can't wait to have you on Senior High. We're trying to do this podcast.
I would love to.
These seniors on, and I can't wait to talk to you. So Kia, you've got to hook this up in a personal way.
Listen, one of the things that Rico and we have this at the end of his Juneteenth event, he had a resource that connected all of those 50-something people that he had together, and he made himself available to say, what can I do for you? How can I help you? And if there's anybody or anything, let me know and I'll make that connection. So we're here.
We got to do this because I was on the pension board, right? And I went around the world with pensions. So I know you, okay?
Yeah.
And I went around the world, dealing with pensions and meeting people. And then it's so funny, anytime I had a nervous breakdown, I went back to school. So I went to Harvard, Georgetown Law. Look, I got so many degrees, and now it's important that I use that. So I made myself go to my Harvard reunion, and because these people are all international, all over. So I can't wait to talk to you. We got to do a retreat.
Absolutely.
Get away. I got the place.
Please, where you located?
I'm here. I'm here.
He's on the West Coast.
You're in LA too? You're on the left coast too?
No, I'm in DC.
With me.
Even better. Even better.
Yeah,
that's where all my family's in New York, DC, and
I'm
VA
from New York.
and Florida.
I'm from New York original.
Yeah, I heard y'all like earlier. What part of New York?
I grew up in St. Albans, right next to Trump.
Nice.
And I went to, I was an opera major. So I came to Howard to be an opera singer. Okay, so
I was an art major, art theory and practice. I'm an onion.
And Kia is so bright. So one of the things, let me just say one last thing. I have been getting in contact with some of the old Black bankers that still got money, that are real interested, like the money people. I want to bring them back because they've been nervous. But now a lot of them are retired and they're calling. So I want just to really have this money flow thing right. We can raise money. We don't know we can raise money. We can raise money.
We need to come back on tomorrow on Black Cannabis Week.
All my investors are Black. Every single one of them.
Absolutely. And you get one name from someone else, and there's a young girl. Have you heard of this girl? She's not even 31, Ashley Fox. One of the bankers introduced me to her, and she was on Wall Street. She went to Howard 4.0, never smoked a joint, great girl, walked away. And now she got funded from Fortune magazine to do financial literacy. I'm looking up, she in India. Okay, look, she is like, there's this group of young people. Ashley Fox, I looked up one day and she was like on the news somewhere in Nepal talking to families. So we have the talent, and then we have the history. You got the old heads like me, and there's, we need to definitely do something in just strictly how to raise money. How do we get people?
Yes, and it's something that I had to learn too. I'm used to being on the other side, right? So I was like a gopher. I was in between because I had all the connections, and this is my first company that I've had to raise something with, and we are we're launching October 29th. I'm gonna get it out to everybody. It's called Canavision, and the need for it was because during the pandemic, when I was doing Canavision. Canada Gather Digital. I switched over to the digital side. My partner Josh out in New York, his job was to raise money, and he's gonna make me the CEO of the company. He was doing these big government PPE deals, and one of our close friends, his brother too. One of our close friends, he's a brother. He raised $11 million. like, and the PPE deals, like government deals, and like the small ones, like government to government deals.
Here, what
And
was I just talking about? The
Yeah,
agency I
yeah.
used to be head of gives out the PPE money, the minority business.
Right.
There's like how to get
Right.
government money. There's the the treasurer, that creep that's head of the Treasury Department. He made his money. Mnuchin made his money off of the crises. He took a house from a guy for 23 cents. So government people, that's how Trump made his money, off of housing, HUD, and stealing from the government. So teaching people that there are resources. That,
these
I
PPE
can't wait.
deals.
I can't wait.
No, this is no. Yes, me either. And we need to get you out here. We can do that virtually.
Yes,
See,
we
I can't wait.
We wouldn't all be together. But
hold on, you
we need
guys.
to stop this. We need to stop. We need to stop this This is what I'm doing. Like the mainstream media is coming into the cannabis universe right now, and it's drowning out Black voices. And the sad part about it is not this particular event, but a lot of these like webinars they're put on by like
what did I tell you,
Tia? Like
what have I been
they have the
telling
same people over and over again. It's like the same 5 Black people, there's the same 5 brown folks, and they just keep on putting them out like they represent all of us.
Rico, we talked about this.
Right. Yes, I know, and I built it. I told you, I built this specifically because of this. And when I was doing Canna Gather, the only people that were I'm a nerd, right? So I'm a big nerd, and I just got into the data behind this. And the only people that I did a social experiment. I only charged $10 for tickets. Everything was free to RSVP, so you can get into my webinars for free. But if you paid $10, ain't gonna break nobody's bank. You get access not only to me and my staff, but you also all these speakers that I have access to, like some of the biggest names in the entire cannabis universe globally, Black, white, brown, doesn't matter. And the people who are paying for this were from emerging markets.
Yes,
they were all from emerging markets.
Absolutely.
They were not from California. They were not from Colorado. They were none of the people that I know, and I reached out to them. So when Canna Gather fell, my partner didn't raise money. And I just started reaching out to these folks that were paying. They were giving me sponsorships. And I was like, yo, what made you do that? They needed access. They don't have access to the big stage. And so that's why I built what I built. I built a decentralized media broadcast organization. And it's starting with, it's a hub and spoke model. Los Angeles is the hub. We have all the eyes on us. For some reason, people still think that, oh yeah, Los Angeles is the model. Like, no, Los Angeles cannabis is a mess. And I started reaching out and building. So I have Newark, I have DC. I have Newark, I got DC, I got Connecticut, and I have and I got Detroit. And so what we're doing like the big names and everything over here, and we're sprinkling in micro content from these emerging markets over the same themes. And while I was building them up and finding out more information about what they were doing, I turned back around in Los Angeles and I found out that we only have 3 of the original 4, but there was more than that. But we only have 3 Black pre-ICO owners left. Yeah. There's only 2 Mexican owners left. The whole,
it's gone.
All of LA
I was there Christmas.
Is gone.
It's unbelievable.
And here I am trying to be like, try to give these people like access like all around the country. Like, yo, we don't got it. I got you. And this is happening everywhere. And all these big white-owned companies that would not hire us and that still won't hire us, has gotten worse because like there's no jobs anyways. And by the time we get out, it's over. So what I'm doing is I'm getting cameras out to these folks. I'm creating like the Vice News of the cannabis industry. Like everything's gonna be bottom up. And we give people like, oh yeah, you said this going on? No, let's go to Chris Jackson in Detroit. Let's talk to Chris and see what's really going on.
Rico,
hold on, y'all. He's one of
my broadcasters.
Look. This is my new son, and he's gonna help his new grandmother how to figure out this senior high thing because there's big money in it, and we gotta come out of it. There's a lot of money in it. So now, kids, up to you. We've got to have a commitment.
I'm trying to get into the conversation.
Oh, wait. This is your thing. Okay, so Kia makes me do shit, right? She makes me do. I saw her and I said, I like you, girl. I did. I just said, I like you. Come to dinner. And we spoke for 3 hours and we've been inseparable ever since. So what I'd like Kia to do is to set up a meeting time for us to do a working session and come up with some ideas, and we'll come up with an outline. But I really need you, and I can be helpful in understanding. Like, one of the things that I love what they said, what are we going to ask for? Like all these other agencies like MBDA, Chinese run that shit. But that was a fabulous place to get money. There's a federal supply schedule. You can get money from a shoelace. You know, that's what I did, was to make people money. And so I need to get back to that, and I need to do the senior high because I was crippled. I was crippled.
Joe, wait. We're going to get back to him. I know. Okay, wait. But hold on. He's not going anywhere. Rico is in my phone. I will call him. He's here.
I get bored with people quickly. Okay.
Just so you know,
just so you know, like smart people. But I'm on a time schedule here.
Yeah.
Right. Respect the time. But yeah, Tuesday through Thursday is daddy daycare. So my wife is actually working on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So if you don't mind the baby, then we can talk to Tuesday through Thursday. Other than that, my work week is Friday through Monday. I'm here for all of that. And my door is always open. I'm gonna put my email address down here too. So if anybody wants to hit me,
put it in the chat, please.
Yeah.
And
please,
we will, Joan and Rico, we will reconvene absolutely for sure. There will be, we can get on top of it right after this call and set up something. But because we're in a time frame and we've been on this thing since 11, I'm glad you mentioned Chris, because Chris and Jewel Jones, the youngest state rep, kicked it off this morning.
Yes.
About civics and government 101. So we've been on here since 11:30.
Oh, look, she wears me out. Okay, she wears me out. But it's so funny. Today I got a call I was telling Kia, from a guy that, I mean, this guy is done. Young guy. He's out in LA, but young for me. But anyway. I put him on.
But is he too young for you?
Oh, no. I like his wife.
Hey,
no,
there you go.
No,
there you go.
I like his wife. I actually introduced him because she was the head of the commercial. Anyway, it's a long story. I told you a little bit about him. But anyway, I can't wait for us to look. We can't stop talking, so we have to have like 3 topics.
Yeah. Okay. So
we gotta make a money list. I want to make a money list. You young boy money, old people money. I want to make who's out here.
We built that. So I got you. I got you. We have. I'm
in love.
I'm a data guy. So that's what we've been doing. We've been compiling lists, and one of my mentors, if you know Ron Brown, then you. And you know Reggie, if you know my man Reggie, then good chance you might know Brian Franklin too. So
I
Brian
know
Franklin
the name.
From BAM. He took me under his wing, and
we've
been building some stuff. And Black Billionaire.
Yes, and definitely. And acquire
power. And he's been teaching me some excellent life lessons, and it's all because of Ebony Juneteenth. Yeah, so we brought all these people in from around the world.
Great experience. So Joan, I'm gonna mute you guys for a little bit because we'll have a personal convo. I want to finish.
I've got to go, actually.
Oh, stop it, please.
No, I got to go in 10 minutes. This is the condo meeting. The white people are scheming in the hallway. I got to at least. That's why I've been jumping up and showing my face in the hallway. They're on the stairs. So I got to watch them. But go ahead.
Okay, I want to let Tiffany Shaw is the patient care coordinator with Herbal Alternatives Medical Cannabis Dispensary here in DC. And I'm just going to let her say a few words about the patient registration process and how we accept reciprocity from other states. And when you come and travel to DC, that we'll take care of you. And even if you're not in DC, Tiffany can help you get a card in your own state. So I'm going to unmute you, Tiffany, and I'm going to spotlight and get to the regularly scheduled, because Joan was going to take over the whole show.
Wait, one thing that Tiffany and we did, and we could do this, and when people are coming out of jail or they don't have ID, we send them down to the voter registration so they can get their voter registration card and have another ID. And then from that, we've gotten some activists because they're like, wow, I got a voter registration card. So we're at it every day. Tiffany, do your thing. I see she got herself together and she hung in there all day.
She did. She was all day.
It's been a day, Joan. Hi, everyone. I'm Tiffany, as Kia said, patient application specialist. If you are a DC resident, it only takes about 10, 11 business days to get your medical marijuana license. It's really quickly. Maryland is a little different. If you want more details on any other state, just let me know. I'm going to link my information in the chat right now. And if you have any specific questions, just let me know.
Well, Tiffany, just give them, I guess some of the essential things that they'll need, like.
Oh, okay. All right. Thanks, Kia. All right. So if you are a DC resident, you need to have a DC photo ID, preferably the real ID with the star on it. If you don't have the real ID, a DC ID or a passport can be used. We need 2 proofs of residency. If you have a utility bill, a voter's registration, that's a big one. A lease, a piece of mail with your name on it will work. If you are a Medicaid recipient that works in your benefit, you'll get a lower, so you pay less for the medicine. In addition, you pay less for the application fee for the process. So you get a discount on that end. If you are a veteran, you get a discount. Whether you are a veteran and you have a DC card or you have a medical card from another state. We respect our veterans. We love our veterans. Yeah, it's not as hard of a process as it used to be. It's very COVID friendly. I'm sorry, I was just looking at, okay. So if you are a registered medical patient, unfortunately, you cannot have a gun. What I'm seeing is that it's easier to get your gun license if you want to, and then get the medical card compared to getting never mind, I'm getting the no from Joan. That is not a question we're going to talk about right now. If you want to, Joan, you're muted.
Can I mean, just go ahead, Joan.
All right. Are there any other questions pertaining to the medical? Sorry,
give us your phone number.
Yes, putting that in now.
Yes, your herbal alternatives number
and the email.
And Rico, you need to let Rico know that any of his West Coast or his connections when they come to the D.
Yeah, when they come through, just let
Tiffany, make that connection, bring them all into you, girl.
And I'm gonna put our menu on here too.
Oh, wonderful. And how they can access Sticky Guide.
Yeah, we're right on Sticky Guide.
And don't you all do delivery, and for COVID safety, you're doing pre-order,
right? So for DC patients only, we're doing delivery.
Okay.
The minimum $100 order.
Okay. And what's up with the pre-order process?
So if you would like to place a pre-order, you can either call us or you can do the pre-order online. I'm putting the details in the chat to place a pre-order.
Okay. All right. And you know what? Give them some referral code. It's like Cannabis Week or Black Cannabis Experience referral code, so that we can sure they get some promo deals if they come in and they were connected from this event today.
Okay, all right. Well, we will make one up and let you know so you can disseminate that information.
Thank you so much. You are
Thank
awesome.
you. Yeah.
I want to move on because time is a rushing. Is going through. I have one other. Where is this, Tiffany? Okay, take the spotlight. Let's see. I want to do a screen share with everyone. Look at that beautiful baby. Oh my gosh, I'm going to get in trouble. Oh, I'm going to get in trouble. Okay, let me see. I'm going to do a screen share. I have two very short videos that I want to share. This is the first one. We have Sam DiCarangelo, who is one of the founders of HeadCount and HeadCount's relationship with the Cannabis Voters Project. And he has a message for us. So this is another resource for voters. Trying to get this.
Registration and vote. My name is Sam D'Angelo, and I'm the director of HeadCount's Cannabis Voter Project. HeadCount launched the Cannabis Voter Project a few years ago with the goal of registering, informing, and turning out voters who care about cannabis reform. We believe that cannabis is a unique issue with the power to convince many people who otherwise would not vote to go to the polls. When you work in voter registration and voter outreach, there's a thing you hear all the time, and that's some variation of, what can voting change? My vote doesn't count. Why does any of this matter? Well, your vote matters for a ton of reasons, but when you look at the trajectory of cannabis reform in particular over the past few years, it's very clear that voting has had a huge impact. In most states that have legalized cannabis, legalization has been decided at the ballot box by voters, not politicians. And in states where cannabis reform has advanced in the legislature, it's because voters elected leaders who promised to make that happen. But it's not just these state-level cannabis laws that have been influenced by voters. At the local level, officials like district attorneys and city councilors have a great deal of influence in how cannabis laws are enforced in your immediate area. And at the federal level, cannabis reform is making real progress for the first time ever because legislators are realizing that cannabis reform is something that voters want. How you vote can have an impact on how seriously leaders at all levels take this issue. At the Cannabis Voter Project, we believe it's crucial for people who care about cannabis reform to be active and informed voters. Not just because there are debates about if cannabis will be legalized, but because there are debates about how cannabis will be legalized. When lawmakers debate cannabis legalization, it's rarely just a question of yes or no. There are all kinds of issues that need to be addressed. There are things like, where will the new tax revenue go? What kind of regulations will be in place? How will the licenses be distributed? What kinds of past marijuana convictions will be expunged, and how easy will it be for people to get their records expunged? If you want to have influence over how these questions are answered, it's important that you stay informed about how cannabis reform is being debated in your state. And it's important that you make your voice heard in any way you can. Voting isn't the only way you can make your voice heard, but it's one of the most important tools that we have as American citizens. That's why it's essential for you to make sure that you're registered to vote at your current address and that you're ready to vote in this upcoming election season. If you aren't registered to vote at your current address or you aren't sure about your voter registration status, you can head to cannabisvoter.info right now to make sure you're good to go. That's our website, cannabisvoter.info. You can also get the same tools delivered directly to your phone by texting CANNA, C-A-N-N-A, to 40649. On a final note, this year it's more important than ever that you do everything you can to make sure your vote is counted. Whether you're voting on election day, voting early, or voting by mail, you need to have a plan to make sure you do absolutely everything right. That means knowing where you can vote, when you can vote, and what kind of voter ID requirements there are in your state. And if you're voting by mail, we highly, highly recommend getting your ballot in as early as possible to make sure that it is counted. Voter registration deadlines are coming up in about 2 weeks in many states. Now is the time to get prepared to participate in this election. Thank you so much to Black Cannabis Week for putting on this amazing event. And thank you for inviting HeadCount and the Cannabis Voter Project to help spread the word about the importance of cannabis in voting. I hope you all have a great week. Hi, everyone.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was trying to close that down. So that was, you know, another resource that we brought to the table today for this all-day event around voting and voting in cannabis and Blacks and cannabis and voting. And it's another resource. It's like whatever it takes, however you can connect. So he had another person from his team, Selam, Gashaw, do a brief presentation as well. And I'm going to share her. And then we're going to do some just, you know, questions. You can speak to Rico, ask the question. I have Tim B to show some art. And we're going to sign off after this. And, you know, we can continue. But in terms of like the recording that I'm going to be putting up, you know, we're going to shut down because I'm in a time situation.
Hi, my name is Selam, and I am the Community Diversity nonprofit organization that works to register and engage young voters by meeting them where they're at, which is why you'll find us at concerts, at music festivals, at community events all around the country. In 2018, we launched Cannabis Voter Project, which is an initiative that works to register, engage, and inform young voters who are interested in seeing cannabis laws reformed. For me personally, I can't look at cannabis law reform without thinking about mass incarceration and how that has disproportionately affected the Black community. And when we look at the young voters that we are trying to engage and the voters we're trying to engage around cannabis law reform, we want to make sure that everyone is an active and engaged voter. For me, when I go to the ballot box, when I go to choose to vote, I am imagining a new world. And that is what I'm voting. That's what I'm voting on, and that's what I'm trying to see. So as someone who is a young voter, who is a young Black voter, I'm looking at issues like mass incarceration, imagining a world where that doesn't exist, where the unjust systems that we have right now that are disproportionately affecting Black and brown people don't exist. And so that is what I'm voting towards. So whether it be issues like expungement, whether it be issues like social equity licensing, whether it be issues like the decriminalization, informing my vote. So whether it be the state legislators that I'm voting for, the senators that I'm voting for, the DA that I'm voting for, it's all informed by these specific decisions where I want to see a world that looks more like what I imagine. And in that same vein, we're trying to galvanize young voters. We want to see young people who have these radical imaginings, who are loud and who are speaking out about the injustices that they see, about the reform and the imagination that they want to see this country to look like. We want to give those people the tools to also see those same imaginings on the ballot and to be able to identify and look at exactly where they see that happening on their ballot and be able to change it. So usually when we think about cannabis on the ballot, we think about ballot initiatives, we think about referendums, we think about amendments that might come up that are straight legalization arguments. So do we want cannabis to be legal or do we want it to be illegal? And those might show up directly on your ballot looking exactly like that. I am a registered voter in Colorado, and that's what I saw. Do we want cannabis to be legalized? Yes or no? And that's what a lot of people see as when it comes to cannabis voting. But the reality is that up and down your ballot, almost all of the things that you're voting for can affect cannabis law and cannabis law reform. So whether you live in a state that has a ballot initiative coming up that you can vote specifically on whether marijuana is legalized or not, that being Arizona, New Jersey, Montana, South Dakota, or Mississippi, whether you live in one of those states, you live in a state that is not on that list, that might not have a ballot initiative coming up on the legalization of marijuana, whether it be medical or recreational, there still are opportunities to look at your ballot and to see marijuana law reform on it. So whether that be the legislators that you're voting for, who have the authority to start crafting the legislation that would either make marijuana legal, that would have influence on whether expungement is an option, whether social equity licensing is in the legislation. Those are people that you can vote for that are elected officials that are making those decisions. Another opportunity to vote on cannabis law reform would be your direct district attorney. There have been plenty of district attorneys that have chosen not to criminalize marijuana. That's another opportunity to kind of look at these issues of mass incarceration and to look at these issues of cannabis reform and marijuana reform that allow us to really just kind of change the narrative as voters. And that's on a personal stance, we want you to look at your ballot to see the world that you're imagining and to vote towards that. That's really where the heart is. That's really where it's about. And especially looking at cannabis, it's an opportunity for a lot of young people who are out and about, who do care about these issues, who look at mass incarceration and say, this is not what I want my community to look like. This is not how I want my community to be affected. And they have that opportunity to step in and to vote according to that opportunity, as well as the other advocacy that people are doing. We really want this to be that first step that people take, getting involved civically and engaging in this process. And so as we go into November, as we head into these registration deadlines starting to hit, as you start to look at your ballot and see what's going to be on there, just think keenly about the world that you want to see, the world that you want to see when it comes to cannabis reform, and vote according to that, because there are so many opportunities on your ballot. There's so many opportunities in the voting booth for you to affect cannabis reform in a very real and very substantial way. And that is what CVP is all about. So you can head to our website, you can get some more information on voting, on how you're going to vote, where you're going to vote, all of those things. But we want to galvanize people to look at their ballot and to also see the future that they want to see in that imagining, and especially young people. We have so much power in this election. People are looking at us from every single political party, every single entity is looking to get this young vote out. So where we vote, what we say really does matter in this election. People are paying attention to us. People want to see what we want to see, and it's going to inform where this country goes. And so what we're imagining for this country has a lot of power right now. So as a young person, if this is something that gets you up and about, if this is something where you look at the Black community and you're like, I do not want to see this as our reality anymore. If you look at the Black community and say, I'm imagining a better truth here than this. I'm imagining something more than mass incarceration for my uncle, for my family, for the people that I love and that I see, for the community that I'm representing. This is your opportunity to look at the ballot and to say, you know what, I'm going to vote with equity in mind. I'm going to vote with the future that I want to see in mind. I'm going to vote with cannabis in mind. And I'm going to be looking directly at these issues. And so you can head to our website to find out a little bit more about these issues, about how you can engage, register to vote if you're not registered, to check your registration, make sure you're checking. And especially to get some more information if you have been in this world and if you're engaged here and you want to see change. So I encourage you guys to go engage, to vote for those who can't. Like we know a lot of people who have had just 1 ounce of marijuana might have lost their right to vote because they might have had a felony conviction. They might be incarcerated right now with a felony conviction in a state where they can't vote. And so you have the opportunity to use your voice to advocate for the Black community that is being disproportionately affected by mass incarceration, by cannabis criminalization, by marijuana criminalization. And so when you go to the ballot, when you start researching, start making your plan now, when you start researching, keep cannabis in mind. Look at laws, look at the ballot initiatives that may be on if you're in one of those states that has a ballot initiative on for November. Or if you're looking at elected officials, you can imagine what you want to see and make a decision that you feel like is in line with the world that you want to see.
That's right.
And that's really all we want you to do. We want to give you the tools and the power to really work towards the world that you imagine. Because that's really what this is about. That's what engaging in this process is about. It's about taking steps to where we want to go and allowing this engaging in the electoral process and voting to be the first step that a lot of young people take into getting into civic engagement and getting involved in that way. So whether cannabis is the only thing you care about or whether it's one of many things that you care about, you'll be able to see that on your ballot. And you'll be able to see it in the streets that you're already in. You'll be able to see it in the communities that you're already working in. So just make sure that we are looking towards where we want to go and we're voting in line with that, specifically when it comes to cannabis too.
That was awesome. I wish that she was here for me to clap for her because she, these young, I'm telling you, the sisters have been coming on here doing stuff like holding it all the way down. And so the HeadCount and the Cannabis Voter Project and the great presentation we heard from Najaah Daniels with vote.org, those are three organizations and 3 different organizations that have antlers and stems of other connections and resources to, make it no excuse for participation, and even to have that dialogue where you have somebody sent me a message just now while we were on, and she says, I've spoken to too many Black folks not voting because the Constitution states that we are 3/5 human. And so this is an example of, I heard another person say, I mean, I'm not gonna, I don't know if I'm not gonna vote for Trump because he gave us stimulus checks that you have to pay that back on your taxes. You know, or I hear people say, you know, well, neither one of them are for us. And, you know, the disbelief that our voice isn't heard on either side of the, you know, Republican, like we're not cared about at all. And all of these things are, and excuse my language, but we mind fuck ourselves out of the actual participation. And then when it's not right or not what you want, it's because you didn't invest anything into it. So, you know, to continue to say that out loud, oh, I'm not doing this and I'm not doing that, I'm just like, you know, you can feel that way, you have that right, but don't press that on anybody else. Don't say that out loud. And it makes it one of those areas where, you know, you're not supposed to talk about politics and religion and conversations and things. But it's one thing to have it's to persuade somebody to do something, or to actually just be neutral or be able to have your opinion without offending or forcing something on anybody else. So it's interesting, but I ain't scared. I'm going to have a conversation about voting and the importance that role plays on all parts of our lives, not just cannabis, as the young lady was saying. So I'm very thankful for everybody to come together today, from the morning 11 o'clock to almost 9 o'clock tonight. We have gone, you know, full steam ahead, and I'm looking forward to these videos of today to be shared again and again. You can click on it when it goes on the YouTube page. You can replay it again. I want you to reach out, connect. I'm going to do a Rico move, and I'm going to put everybody who spoke today, their name, their email, their social media handles together. And Rafi definitely was like, make it resourceful, make it resourceful. So, and she's been on here. Tiffany's been on here. Joan, Katri, I wanted Katri to connect at some point in the chat with you guys. She spoke earlier, Rico, from Nevada, has a compelling narrative, kind of similar to yours. Like, it was this way and now it's that way type of situation. So make that connection. I am going to formally close out. Rico has a video. How long is the video, Rico? How long?
Sorry, I got my professional mic over here. Yeah, it's not ready for right now. I would want my partner.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
I wasn't prepared for right now. Like, I want my partner, Miko, so we can actually present it. So you let us know when you need us the next 2 days, and because we want to be able to talk about these things because they're very important.
Okay.
And we're doing exclusively for you too. So
yes, I'm looking forward to that. So we do have other days in Black Cannabis Week where we have a business track. We have a
whatever you need, and I'll loop her in.
So I'll talk to Sharon, and we'll get that going. I would like, if Rafi, you have any closing remarks. I also have 10 Beat. I wanted her to share a piece of her art with us. Scott's been on here all day. He's getting ready to blaze out, as he said. Tamika, she's been on here. She has a wonderful wellness product. And Joan, she wants to work with you with Senior High as well. Tamika right here, if you see on the screen.
I would like to say that I'm an herbal alternatives patient, and I really appreciate everything that Tiffany and Joan and everyone at Herbal Alternatives does. They are my favorite dispensary in DC. I love y'all. Thank you for all
We
you
love
do.
you too.
Love you too.
That's my cousin.
Oh, and we met Miss Joan last year at the Black Cannabis Experience.
We sure did.
So it's just amazing how it all just comes full circle, you know. And we were like just getting started last year. I don't even know if I had business cards when I met all of you all last year. So to be able to be a part of this and, you know, connect with you later to just share our growth over this past year would be phenomenal. And the work that we're doing with the seniors in our community, it's a passion of ours even before we got into cannabis. So this is amazing.
Yeah, no, really, Tamika. I mean, I remember when we met, and you and your husband have been on it, and you've made, you know, you've gone through, and in the process, like, we're pioneers no matter what. Like, we are just trailblazing and propelling, and this is another example of somebody who got involved, just went out, came out, and took their, you know, passion and made it into a business. And so these are, you know, so you want to connect with Rico, you know, you connected with all of us. And
yes, definitely. My husband, I literally just showed him I was like, I'm going to get on his line.
Yes. This is what it's all about, you know. And look, Joan, we got to tell Jen all the herbal alternatives love we got today.
We do, but you know what? It's time to go.
It's time to go. It's time to go. Oh, she's going to say it's time to go now. Timmy, show
good job, Joan.
Timmy made.
We got, you know,
Joan, Timmy did this all day while she was on here with us every night. So this is her get up, get out, vote art for the day.
Oh, this is the art.
Yes, Timby. I'm gonna pin it up for spotlight you, Timby. Yes. There you go, everybody.
Beautiful.
She's an artist.
That's beautiful.
She also, for Black Cannabis Week, she created yoga and breathing sessions. Timby, just put, I know you did it earlier, but just put your at or however you want them to reach you in case they want you to make some art. She also is a little bit of a horticulturalist. She helps me grow all types of things. But Timby's awesome. Everybody on here is awesome. Rafi is probably like, I want Rafi to say something.
Rafi is here. Rafi has been here with you, since 11 o'clock this morning? 10:30 this morning, ma'am?
Yes, and I want you to
Rafi is currently in her pajamas and her robe, so she won't be turning her cameras on.
That's okay. That's okay. But thank you very much, Rafi. You were a great partner, and you hung in there even when it was like that. But we had a good day. I think everybody was engaged all day. It was great content. So thank you. Thank you again. I'm done.
Good night, everyone. It has been great.
We love you too.
Good night, Mama Joan. Go handle them condo people.
Oh, look. They're down there whispering.
Good night, everybody on the East Coast. Kia, let me
Good night, baby Zora.
Yeah, I gotta go put her down in about an hour. But Kia, let me text me, and I'll get my partner on, and just let us know what's available. We'll hop on. It's about 35-minute video, and we'll talk about it afterwards.
Great. I can't wait.
All right.
Good night, Kia. You did a great job.
Good night, all.
Be safe.